My name is Margaret, and never in my wildest dreams did I imagine those words echoing through my own home, especially coming from the very woman my son chose to marry. On that fateful Saturday morning, the sunlight poured through the windows like a golden flood. The birds outside sang their sweet melodies, and just as I triumphantly completed the mundane task of folding laundry, I caught wind of a conversation that would shatter the tranquility of my day. Little did they realize, I lurked in the shadows of the hallway, a silent witness to their unsuspecting lives. "She's nothing but a weight dragging you down, Jason. We're battling through the chaos of raising 2 kids, toiling endlessly, and she's just..." In the dim light of our home, Emily's voice sliced through the air like a serpent's whisper, hissing with a tension that electrified the room. My son remained eerily silent. I slammed my back against the wall, heart pounding, breath hitching in my throat. My heart, a tempest of emotions, a battleground of desires, pulsing with the weight of unspoken words and hidden truths. It came to a sudden halt, a breath held in the air, as if the world itself paused in anticipation. Emily pressed on, her voice slicing through the air with a razor's edge, more piercing than I had ever known. "How could you expect me to bear the weight of your choices? I didn't vow to you only to shoulder the burden of her as well." She stands there, a figure of indifference as chaos unfolds around her. The weight of her inaction hangs heavy in the air, a stark reminder that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. She's not helping, and the world feels the sting of her absence. She's merely a ghost haunting the room, an empty shell occupying precious air. And let us face the truth, shall we? She has relinquished all claim to this house, a mere shadow of her past now. That was a deceitful facade, a treacherous untruth lurking in the shadows. A perilous entity lurking in the shadows. For I still possessed it, clinging to it with a fierce determination that defied all odds. It was in the wake of my husband's tragic demise that I found myself thrust into a whirlwind of responsibilities, each one heavier than the last. But what of my name? My name lingered ominously on the deed, a haunting reminder of what once was. I had sacrificed for every brick, every nail, every window that welcomed the sun, and yet there I stood, a monument to my own despair. Pressed against the cold, unyielding wall, I clutched a basket brimming with freshly folded towels, a weightless burden that made me feel smaller than I had ever imagined possible. Emily let out a heavy sigh, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. I demand her departure before the summer sun rises high. We must uncover a sanctuary for her, or perhaps a refuge, or something that resembles a home. No longer shall I endure this existence. Vanished into thin air, a weight too heavy to bear, a dwelling, or perhaps something more profound. That moment shattered everything, the final thread of sanity snapping in a cacophony of despair. Not a single word escaped my lips. I stood there, a fortress of stoicism, refusing to let a single tear betray my resolve. I spun around, my heart racing, and stormed back into my room. With a decisive click, I locked the door behind me, sealing myself away from the world. My hands trembled as I yanked open the drawer, the weight of the house documents heavy with secrets waiting to be unveiled. On that fateful day, I made a choice that would change everything. If I am merely a burden, then they are nothing more than tenants, and tenants do not enjoy the luxury of staying without paying their dues. But before I unveil the gripping tale of how I reclaimed it all, without a single shout, without a hint of desperation, allow me to take you back to the very start. How dare I endure the sting of insults within these walls, built with my husband's hands, a sanctuary turned battleground? And I absolutely did not bring a son into this world to remain mute, as his wife ruthlessly dismantled me piece by piece. Before we plunge into the depths of this unfolding tale, I implore you, dear viewers, to reveal in the comments where in this vast world do you find yourselves watching from. It was at the tender age of 19 that fate intertwined my path with George, the man who would become my husband. In a world where dreams flickered like candle flames, we were 2 kids, bound by fate, hailing from humble families. Together, we toiled in the shadows of a quaint bookstore, perched precariously on the outskirts of town, where secrets whispered between the pages of forgotten tomes. George, a whirlwind of laughter, a tender heart wrapped in strength, stood as an unwavering beacon of loyalty. In a moment that felt suspended in time, he knelt beneath the ancient oak tree, the very sentinel of our stolen lunch breaks. With trembling hands, he presented a copper ring, bound with twine, a symbol of love and fate intertwined. We emerged from the depths of despair, with nothing but shadows surrounding us. Indeed, in those early years the struggle was relentless, a tempest of challenges that seemed insurmountable. In the depths of a dimly lit basement we resided, surrounded by walls so fragile they seemed to whisper secrets of our lives to the world above. Yet, we dared to dream beyond the stars. In a twist of fate, George embraced the world of carpentry, a decision that would forever alter the course of his life. In a relentless battle against exhaustion, I toiled through double shifts, scrubbing and sanitizing the very offices that echoed with the whispers of ambition and despair. With each agonizing moment, we clawed our way to build our savings, a struggle etched in every heartbeat. Then, in a moment that seemed to freeze time, George burst through the door, his face a mask of turmoil, and let a crumpled flyer tumble from his grasp onto the table, the air thick with unspoken tension. The property awaits its fate at auction, a battleground where fortunes will be won and lost in a heartbeat, a farmhouse in desperate need of salvation. We barely scraped together the funds to meet the bid, teetering on the edge of financial ruin, hardly a whisper of hope. My hand trembled violently as I lifted it at the auction, a storm of emotions raging within me. We emerged victorious. That decrepit farmhouse transformed into the very essence of our existence, a haunting testament to our dreams and struggles. Each weekend, we found ourselves plunged into a whirlwind of repairs, battling the relentless tide of broken things that threatened to consume us. In a moment fraught with tension, George took it upon himself to install the windows, each pane a testament to his unwavering determination, his hands trembling with the weight of the task ahead. With trembling hands, I selected the curtains, each fabric a whisper of my intentions, and with fervour, I transformed every wall into a canvas of my deepest desires. Under that roof, we nurtured Jason, our sole son, with hopes and dreams that danced in the shadows of our hearts. That house was our very essence, a living testament to our intertwined fates. When George perished 5 years ago, it shattered my very soul. In that moment, the very thought of food twisted my stomach into knots. I recoiled, as if the mere idea of eating was a betrayal of my very essence. Silence enveloped the air, a heavy shroud of unspoken words lingering in the shadows. The house loomed, an oppressive giant, its silence echoing like a haunting whisper in the shadows. Jason and Emily arrived, a year later, under the guise of lending a hand at least, that's what I believed. At first, it was a dream wrapped in beauty, a scene painted with the softest hues of bliss. The echoes of children's laughter reverberated through the hallways once more, a haunting melody of joy that pierced the silence like a dagger in the night. Emily, with trembling hands and a heart racing like a wild stallion, embarked on a baking odyssey that would change everything. In a moment fraught with tension, Jason confronted the decaying porch, tools in hand, ready to battle the elements that threatened its very existence. They dared to call it their home, a sanctuary cloaked in shadows and secrets. I was unfazed. Desperation clawed at my heart as I yearned for the warmth of family, their presence a flickering hope in the shadows of my solitude. But then, like a thunderclap in the stillness, everything began to shift. Emily launched into a fierce correction, her voice slicing through the air like a knife. In a moment of quiet desperation, I faced the towering mountain of fabric that loomed before me. Each piece, a testament to chaos, whispered tales of disarray. With trembling hands, I embarked on the daunting task of folding clothes, battling the relentless tide of laundry that threatened to engulf me. The fabric crumpled and twisted, each fold a desperate plea for order in a whirlwind of culinary chaos. I plunged into the depths of flavour, unleashing a tempest of spices upon the simmering stew. Each pinch, a calculated risk, each dash, a bold declaration of taste. The air thickened with anticipation as the ingredients danced in a fervour, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. This was no mere seasoning. It was a dramatic overture to a feast that would echo through the ages. Behold, the grand spectacle of table setting unfolds before your very eyes. In a moment that shattered the very fabric of our relationship, Jason ceased to utter the word Mum, and instead, with a chilling finality, began to address me as Ma. Then arrived the hushed murmurs, the piercing gazes, the ominous shut doors. And now? The air thickens with anticipation, the silence screams for answers, and the weight of uncertainty hangs heavy in the atmosphere. What comes next? The world holds its breath, teetering on the edge of revelation. Now, Emily's desire for my departure hangs heavy in the air, a chilling whisper of betrayal that echoes through the shadows. But little does she realize. The documents she never dared to inquire about, shrouded in mystery and foreboding, lingered in the shadows, whispering secrets that could unravel everything. They were never fully relinquished, a lingering shadow of ownership haunting the air. My name has remained, untouched, a haunting presence in the shadows of my past. The house, with its walls steeped in memories and secrets, remains under my dominion, a testament to my unwavering claim. And now, what fate awaits us? I've just secured an appointment with the family lawyer, and the air is thick with tension. The very man who once guided us through the tumultuous journey of acquiring that property all those years ago now reappears in our lives, shrouded in the shadows of time. She believes I am nothing but a weight, dragging her down into the depths of despair. Little does she know, a tempest is brewing, ready to unleash chaos upon her unsuspecting world. The next morning, an eerie silence enveloped the house, as if it held its breath, waiting for the storm to break. Emily, with a heart full of hope, led the children to the park, where laughter danced in the air and shadows whispered secrets of the day. Jason remained ensconced upstairs, lost in the glow of his phone screen, as if the world below had faded into oblivion, a ritual he clung to after his morning coffee. I sat at the kitchen table, the house deed clutched in my trembling hands, the weight of its implications crashing down like thunder in the silence. My glasses clung to my nose, scrutinizing each line as if it were a battle strategy, fraught with tension and urgency. And in a way, it was. The very essence of truth hung in the air, thick with tension, as the revelation loomed large, casting shadows over every whispered secret and unspoken fear. The heart raced, the breath caught, and the world tilted on its axis, for what was once hidden now stood bare, raw, and undeniably real. In a moment of desperation, I reached for the phone and dialed Mr. Hendricks, our family lawyer, the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. And then, on the second ring, he answered, the tension crackling in the air like a storm about to break. "Margaret," he uttered, his voice a blend of warmth and astonishment, as if the very air around them crackled with unspoken tension. Time has slipped away, leaving echoes of silence in its wake. I smiled, a mere flicker of light in the shadowy depths of despair. It has dragged on far too long, Thomas. Desperation clings to my voice as I reach out, pleading for your assistance in this dire moment. And I demand silence. Silence hung heavy in the air, a suffocating pause that stretched on, thick with unspoken tension. Then, let the silence speak volumes. Make your way here this afternoon, for the hour of reckoning approaches. With a trembling hand, I severed the connection, the weight of the moment crashing down upon me. I carefully folded the deed, each crease a testament to the gravity of what lay within that envelope, and tucked it away, as if hiding a dark secret from the world. My hands quaked, not from fear, but from a more piercing intensity. Determination ignites within, a fierce blaze that cannot be extinguished. As the clock struck 3 p.m., I found myself ensconced in his office, the familiar mahogany desk looming before me, the air thick with the scent of ancient tomes and the weight of unspoken authority. With a trembling hand, Thomas adjusted his glasses, his heart racing as he gazed at the mountain of paperwork before him, each page a harbinger of fate. "Margaret, your name lingers in the air, a haunting echo that refuses to fade away. Alone in the shadows, the weight of absolute control rests heavily upon one pair of shoulders, every legal document a testament to solitary dominion. I demand the full deed be returned to my name alone," I declared, my voice barely above a whisper, heavy with tension. I demand their names be etched in ink as tenants, forever bound by the weight of this document. His brows shot up, a silent gasp escaping the confines of his composure. Even your son? My heart raced as uncertainty gripped me, a tempest of doubt swirling in my mind. My stomach churned in a tumultuous storm of dread. Once, Jason was a different man, a shadow of the person he has become. Yet, he allowed her to utter those words. He allowed me to dissolve into the very fabric of my own sanctuary, becoming nothing more than a ghostly whisper against the walls. I nodded, the weight of the moment crashing down upon me like a tidal wave, each heartbeat echoing the gravity of my decision. It was him, above all, that sent shivers down the spine, a figure cloaked in mystery and intrigue, the very embodiment of chaos lurking in the shadows. Thomas nodded, each movement heavy with unspoken weight, as if the very air around him crackled with tension. With trembling hands, I shall pen the papers that will alter the course of fate. And should they dare to challenge it, we possess an arsenal of documentation that reveals your true intent was never to relinquish the house. Grief consumed you, a dark cloud overshadowing every moment. That holds no legal weight. I released a breath, heavy with unspoken words. Ensure the notice reaches them without delay, I commanded, my voice laced with urgency. In the throes of creation, the echoes of hushed voices in the corridor have come to an abrupt end. As I stepped through the door, the scene unfolded before me. Emily, a vision of domesticity, stood in the kitchen, her knife glinting ominously as she sliced apples with precision, each piece handed to the eager children like a ritual of innocence amidst the chaos of life. She scarcely lifted her gaze. "Margaret, you've been gone all day. You could have at least whispered your truth to someone, casting light on the shadows that lingered in silence." I offered her a smile, taut and strained, as if it were a fragile thread ready to snap at any moment. Who could have imagined that my secret would unravel before their very eyes? With a dramatic flourish, she rolled her eyes, her disdain palpable, before turning away as if the very air around her had become unbearable. I caught Jason lurking in the shadows of the hallway, his eyes fixed on me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. He parted his lips, a tempest of words swirling within, yet silence reigned supreme. As it always is, the relentless cycle continues. That fateful night, I lingered in the shadows of my bedroom doorway, straining to catch the whispers that danced behind the closed doors once more. "She's been acting so strangely," Emily whispered, her voice trembling with unease. "You're just paranoid." Jason shot back, his voice dripping with disdain. But I was acutely aware of the truth lurking beneath the surface. 3 days later, the envelope arrived, shrouded in an air of ominous anticipation. In a twist of fate, Thomas orchestrated a dramatic delivery, sending the package straight to the house, ensuring that both Jason and Emily received their own copies, each one a harbinger of secrets yet to unfold. I waited, heart pounding, breath held, as the seconds stretched into an eternity. Anticipation hung thick in the air as the seconds stretched into eternity, each heartbeat echoing the desperate hope for the moment they would finally unveil it. At 6:15 p.m., a chilling sound pierced the silence, the unmistakable tearing of paper, echoing like a sinister whisper in the dark. Then, an unbearable silence fell like a heavy curtain, shrouding everything in an ominous stillness. Then what in the world is this? Emily's voice detonated in the hallway, shattering the silence like a grenade unleashed. "She's casting us out into the abyss. She's casting us into the role of tenants." Jason stood in silence, a storm brewing behind his eyes. I emerged from my chamber, a serene facade masking the tempest within. "Correction," I uttered, my voice barely above a whisper, as I cradled my cup of tea, the steam curling like whispers of secrets untold. With fierce determination, I rise to seize what has always belonged to me, a rightful claim long overshadowed by shadows of doubt. "How could you, Emily? You called me a burden. With every step I take, I ensure that weight remains firmly on my shoulders, within the very walls that should cradle me in comfort. A storm brews, a tempest of emotions swirling in the shadows of my own house." Her face ignited with a furious crimson, a tempest of emotions swirling beneath the surface. Jason stood there, breathless, as if a crushing blow had landed squarely in his gut, leaving him reeling in disbelief. "You can't do this," she hissed, her voice dripping with disbelief and fury. "I already have," I declared, the weight of my words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. But the story was far from over. They believed that letter marked the final chapter. Little did they know the storm that was about to unfold, the secrets I had meticulously crafted in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to erupt. What secrets lay hidden in the depths of my storage, waiting to be uncovered? What audio I had captured, a haunting echo of the past, reverberating through the silence like a ghostly whisper, begging to be heard. What a legal clause I had kept razor-sharp all these years, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike. The woman they believed to be delicate, and on the brink of disappearance. In that fateful moment, she had just drawn the first line, a harbinger of chaos yet to unfold. And the war raged on, a tempest of chaos and despair, where every heartbeat echoed the cries of the fallen and the ground trembled beneath the weight of shattered dreams. It was on the brink of becoming intensely personal. The morning after the letter's arrival, the house transformed into a war zone where silent glares clashed with hollow grins, each moment thick with unspoken tension. Emily, once a vibrant presence in my life, has vanished into silence, her words now a distant memory. With a thunderous crash, she hurled the cabinet doors shut, her footsteps echoing like a storm through the kitchen. Her mutterings, a venomous whisper, danced just within earshot, dripping with barely contained fury. Jason. The name echoes through the shadows. A whisper of fate intertwined with destiny. What secrets lie beneath the surface of that single word? What drama unfolds in the depths of his soul? He lingered in the air, suspended in a moment that felt like eternity. He would rap softly on my door, his voice a whisper of urgency. "Can we talk?" But I was utterly unprepared. Shall we engage in a conversation that could change everything? Where was all this chatter when she labelled me a burden? Where had his voice vanished to in that haunting silence? By Friday, Emily shattered the silence with a thunderous revelation, and not in a tranquil manner. In the garden, amidst the whispers of the past, I found myself trimming the hydrangeas, those delicate blooms my husband had lovingly planted years ago, each snip echoing with memories long buried. The sun blazed mercilessly overhead, and my knees throbbed with every step, yet an exhilarating rush coursed through me, igniting a strange sense of pleasure amidst the pain. In that moment, I was reborn, a flicker of my true self igniting within the shadows of despair. Then, with a thunderous crash, the door slammed shut. Emily burst onto the porch, clutching the envelope as if it were a blazing inferno, her eyes wide with a mix of fury and disbelief. "What is it that you truly desire from us, Margaret?" In a moment of sheer fury, she snapped, the tension in the air crackling like a live wire. I rose, shaking off the grime that clung to my gloves like a haunting memory. Respect and silence a rare treasure, a coveted prize in this tumultuous world. She descended the steps with a fierce determination, her every stride echoing with purpose as she approached me. "You've taken refuge in our home, feasting on our provisions, basking in the glow of our electricity." "Stop!" I exclaimed, my voice barely above a whisper, as I raised one trembling hand in a desperate plea. "Behold, this is my house. I sacrificed everything for every square inch. How dare you? You were the one dwelling within the walls of my sanctuary, not the other way around. The audacity, the betrayal." Her laughter echoed, laced with a haunting bitterness that pierced the silence. How utterly ironic, spoken by one who seldom ventures beyond the confines of her own four walls. I took a daring step forward, the air thick with tension. "Emily, allow me to illuminate a truth that cannot be ignored." In the shadow of despair, I found myself retreating, a haunting echo of sorrow pulling me away. But grief is not a sign of frailty. It is a tempest that rages within, a fierce testament to the depths of our love and loss. "You mistook my grief for a mere display of weakness. That was your first mistake." Her lips pressed into a thin line, a storm brewing in her eyes. "And your second," I declared, striding past her, "was the haunting thought that I wouldn't battle for the sanctuary I crafted with my husband." It was that fateful evening when Jason stumbled upon me in the dimly lit den, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. He stood there, a weary figure, his eyes weighed down by an unseen burden, his jaw set in a fierce determination. He plopped down across from me, silence hanging thick in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. "I should have stopped her," he finally breathed, the weight of his regret hanging heavy in the air. I gazed into his eyes, desperately seeking the child I once nurtured, the very soul who once graced my days with blossoms, plucked from the sacred grounds of our schoolyard. "I'm sorry," he uttered, his voice trembling with the weight of unspoken regrets. I nodded, the weight of the moment crashing down around me like a thunderous storm, each heartbeat echoing the gravity of my decision. "Oh, how the tides have turned. Now you wear your remorse like a mask, but only because the storm of inconvenience has swept through your life." "No, I mean it," he declared, his voice trembling with intensity. Fear gripped my heart, a chilling shadow that loomed over me. I yearned for tranquility, a desperate longing that echoed through the chaos of my existence. I believed it would all fade away, like a fleeting whisper in the wind. It did not simply fade away, I declared with fervour. It consumed me whole, dragging me into the depths of despair, until the moment I summoned the strength to claw my way back to the surface. Days passed. And then, like a thunderclap, the notice arrived. It is now official. In a whirlwind of tension and uncertainty, Emily and Jason found themselves ensnared in a gripping countdown. 60 days to either seal their fate as formal tenants or face the harrowing prospect of eviction. The clock was ticking, and the stakes had never been higher. They stood frozen, eyes wide, hearts racing, utterly bewildered by the revelation that had just shattered their world. Once more, Jason fell to his knees, desperation etched across his face as he implored me with a fervour that sent shivers down my spine. "Grant us but a fleeting moment more. We find ourselves on the precipice of change, desperately seeking a new sanctuary to call our own." "You have 60 days," I repeated, my voice echoing with the weight of the ultimatum, just like any other tenant caught in the web of fate. Emily, with a fierce determination blazing in her eyes, flatly refused to sign anything, her defiance echoing in the charged air around her. "Oh, you revel in this, don't you?" With a fierce glare, she unleashed her fury, witnessing our desperate pleas for mercy. "No," I exclaimed, my voice trembling with the weight of the moment. In the depths of my soul, a revelation stirs an awakening to the essence of my being. The shadows of doubt recede as I grasp the threads of my true identity, unraveling the tapestry of my existence with each heartbeat. Who am I? The question echoes, and the answer surges forth like a tempest, fierce and undeniable. I am reclaiming my story, and the world will bear witness to my transformation. But then, in a twist of fate that no one saw coming, the unimaginable unfolded before our very eyes. The children, my precious grandbabies, began to probe with their innocent inquiries. "Grandma, what has caused Mommy's fury? Grandma, are we truly about to embark on our journey?" My heart shattered into a million pieces. I adored those children with every fibre of my being. But Emily? She wielded them like shields, a desperate defence against the chaos that threatened to consume her. With a voice low and trembling, she leaned in, weaving a web of fear that ensnared their hearts, turning them against me, proclaiming my desire to cast them into the abyss, to send them far from my grasp. That Grandma had turned her back on them, her love extinguished like a dying ember in the night. In the stillness of the night, a heart-wrenching wail pierced the silence. My youngest granddaughter's voice trembled as she cried out, "Why doesn't Grandma want us?" The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, a haunting echo of despair. It was a night shrouded in tension, the air thick with anticipation, as I stood at the precipice of fate, ready to make the second decision that would alter everything. If Emily craved chaos, so be it. But what about the kids? They were forbidden. A tantalizing secret, wrapped in shadows. With trembling hands, I flung open the door to the guest room closet, a shroud of dust swirling in the air as I unearthed the ancient recorder hidden within its depths. The very one my husband relied upon in the tense moments before his business calls, a tool of strategy and anticipation. And that fateful night, I dared to press record. Emily's voice oozed through the walls, a toxic whisper that pierced the air like a dagger. She's weaving a web of deception, every smile a mask, every tear a calculated performance. Behold her, dragging her weary body as if the very essence of life is slipping away. Oh, the sheer audacity. If she were to tumble down those unforgiving stairs, I wouldn't even bother summoning an ambulance. Let the drama unfold. At long last, the moment had arrived. The place was ours, cloaked in an eerie silence, waiting for the secrets to unfold. That was the final, heart-stopping moment of betrayal. The very next day, I dispatched the audio to Thomas, a decision that would unravel unforeseen consequences. "File it," I commanded, the weight of my words hanging in the air like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its fury. Should they dare to make a move, eviction court, custody smear, false claims, I demand it all prepared and poised for battle. His response was a single, piercing word. "It is complete." Emily and Jason remained blissfully unaware of the explosive truth I had captured on tape. They clung to the illusion that they could manipulate me, wielding emotional blackmail like a weapon through my beloved grandkids, spinning webs of deceit that twisted the very fabric of truth itself. But this time, the silence was not mine to bear. On that fateful day, the skies wept as the tension shattered like glass, echoing the turmoil within. The sky loomed ominously, a shroud of darkness enveloping the day, as thunder roared in the distance, a foreboding growl heralding the chaos to come. In the dim light of the living room, I found myself folding a child's sweater, the innocent little blue one adorned with clouds, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. My hands froze, a chill racing down my spine as Jason's voice pierced the air outside, low and urgent, echoing with an unsettling intensity. He was locked in a fierce battle of words on the phone, tension crackling in the air like a storm about to break. Amidst the relentless downpour, fragments of truth pierced through the chaos. Despair clutches at my heart, leaving me breathless and lost in a swirling abyss of uncertainty. What path remains for me to tread? The weight of indecision bears down, and I am left to grapple with the shadows of my own thoughts. Indeed, she crossed the line, and the world gasped in disbelief. Never did I imagine she would plunge into such depths. As he staggered back through the door, drenched and weary, his gaze pierced through me like a dagger, a man who had just grasped the bitter truth that his bridge lay in ashes behind him. "We can't afford a new place right now, Mom," he declared, his voice trembling with the weight of despair. "The market is a chaotic whirlwind of madness. The rent looms over me like a dark cloud, double the meagre income I scraped together. And there stands Emily, resolute and unyielding, her heart set against the idea of retreating to her parents' home." I fixed my gaze upon him, a storm of emotions swirling within me. Once more, he called out for salvation, his voice laced with desperation. I approached, my heart racing, and with trembling hands, I offered him the neatly folded sweater, a silent gesture laden with unspoken emotions. "Then perhaps," I uttered with a heavy heart, "you ought to have chosen a partner who honoured the very woman who brought you into this world." As the clock struck midnight, the weight of the world bore down on Emily, and in a moment of sheer desperation, she shattered into a million pieces. She stormed into my room, uninvited, dripping with an audacity that left me breathless. "This is an act of unspeakable cruelty, Margaret. I sacrificed years of my existence for you. In a whirlwind of chaos, I cooked, I cleaned, I ran this house with relentless fervour." I lifted my gaze from the confines of my chair, a sudden tension crackling in the air. "Are you referring to the very house that belongs to me?" She let out a derisive laugh, her eyes narrowing with disdain. "Do you truly believe this grants you strength? It transforms you into a creature of pettiness." I stood, heart racing, the weight of the moment crashing down around me like a tempest unleashed. Petty dared to label me a burden within the very walls I call home. I swear, it was never my intention. Oh, you meant every word, I declared with a chilling detachment. I've endured the passage of time, and in that journey, I've learned to recognize the sinister truth lurking behind a seemingly innocent smile. You're tearing this family apart, she screamed, her voice echoing with anguish. No, I declared, my voice trembling with intensity as I stepped closer, the air thick with unspoken tension. That fateful day, you shattered their innocent hearts, convincing my precious grandchildren that my love for them was nothing but a cruel illusion. On that fateful day, you dared to attempt my erasure, all while standing upon the very floor I had sacrificed for. Do not distort the truth of this matter. Emily's face contorted in a tempest of fury. How could I have been so blind? Allowing you to linger in my life was a grave mistake, one that haunts me every waking moment. I laughed, a sound both soft and sharp, slicing through the silence like a dagger in the night. You cast me out, my dear, leaving me in the shadows of your decision. Fortune smiled upon you, for I took that fateful step. With a fury that could shake the very foundations of the house, she erupted from the room, the door crashing behind her with a deafening bang that sent tremors through the glass panes. As dawn broke, the air thick with anticipation, I stood poised in the kitchen, breakfast meticulously prepared, awaiting the arrival of the children, their footsteps echoing down the stairs like a harbinger of chaos. Pancakes, drenched in warm syrup, adorned with luscious sliced strawberries, a scene of breakfast bliss that beckons with irresistible allure. They smiled at me, their faces a mask of innocence, blissfully unaware of the chaos and destruction that raged around them, as if the war were but a distant nightmare, untouched by their fragile world. It struck me like a thunderclap. The reason I remained tethered to this place, the magnetic pull that kept me from fleeing, even when the allure of surrendering the house and vanishing into the shadows beckoned with seductive whispers. Later, in a twist of fate, Jason discovered me once more amidst the shadows of the garden. His gaze flickered wildly, a storm of anxiety brewing within him. I spoke to Emily, he declared, his voice trembling with intensity. In a twist of fate, she stands poised to sign the lease, but only if we endure until the final bell of the school year tolls. Silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I chose not to respond. With each snip, I felt the weight of the world shift, the tension crackling in the air as I continued to prune, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the garden's edge. And she declared, with a tremor in her voice, that she would offer her apology, he added, the weight of her words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. In the glaring spotlight of public scrutiny, with ink flowing like blood, unleash your thoughts whatever they may be. I came to a sudden halt. I spun around to face him, my heart pounding in my chest. She dares to negotiate now? He nodded, a slow, deliberate movement that seemed to echo in the charged silence, as if the very air held its breath in anticipation of what would come next. I gazed at the flowers, their vibrant colours a stark contrast to the turmoil within me, before I uttered the words, "Tell her I'm not interested in apologies that come with conditions." The air crackled with tension, each syllable dripping with unyielding resolve. I demand that she comprehends the gravity of her actions. I demand her sincerity, not merely to gain a fleeting reprieve, but because, at last, she comprehends the depths of destruction she has wrought upon this sanctuary. Jason's shoulders fell, heavy with despair. "She won't do that," he exclaimed, his voice trembling with disbelief. "Then start packing." I shot back, my voice laced with tension, before turning on my heel and striding away, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. But here's the revelation that eluded them all. As Emily unleashed her venomous threats and Jason's desperate pleas echoed in the air, I stood poised, 2 steps ahead of the chaos unfolding around me. In a moment that could alter the very fabric of my existence, I took the fateful step of filing paperwork to revise my will. In a moment of sheer resolve, I cast them both aside, erasing their very existence from my life. In a twist of fate, I established a trust fund solely for my grandchildren, binding them to the inheritance of the house only after they reached the age of 25, shrouded in specific conditions that could alter their destinies forever. They are bound by fate to finish their education, no matter the cost. They are compelled to uphold a connection with me, no matter the cost. And they must stand resolute, never permitting a guardian or spouse to encroach upon the sanctity of their property. And what if they dared to do so? The trust shatters into a million pieces. In a twist of fate, the house is bequeathed to charity, a shocking turn that leaves all in disbelief. One fateful day, the children of Emily would inherit this very house, a legacy steeped in secrets and shadows. But Emily? She vowed, with a heart full of fury, that she would never lay a finger on a single tile of it again. That fateful night, I found myself perched on the edge of my bed, the weight of the world pressing down as I cracked open a blank notebook, its pages whispering secrets yet to be revealed. In a moment of profound reflection, I began to pen letters for my grandkids, destined to be unveiled a decade, 2 decades hence, long after the echoes of Emily's voice had slipped into the shadows of their memories. Letters brimming with tantalizing recipes, heartfelt advice, and an overwhelming surge of love. For revenge was a tempest, a storm brewing within, not merely a quest to reclaim what was lost. It was a moment fraught with tension, a heart-wrenching decision to abandon the familiar, to sever ties with the past. Something far more extraordinary awaits. Emily's voice pierced the silence of the hallway, a haunting shriek that shattered the stillness, raw and jagged. As she tore open the second notice, her heart raced a formal eviction deadline, coldly hand-delivered by a courier, the lawyer's seal glaring like a death sentence. The air crackled with tension, words had transformed into a fierce reality. This was the end, the irrevocable conclusion that shattered all hopes and dreams. The lease had come to a dramatic end. The clock struck the end of the 60 days, a haunting silence enveloping the air, as the weight of anticipation hung heavy like a storm cloud ready to burst. And the ink had never touched the paper. Now they stood on the precipice of despair, granted a mere 30 days to escape the clutches of their impending doom or be thrust into the abyss of forced eviction. Emily stormed into the kitchen, her presence electrifying the air as I stood over the simmering pot of stew, a meal meant for the innocent children waiting in the other room. Her face burned with a furious crimson, a tempest of emotions swirling beneath the surface. Her mascara, a dark river of despair, smudged from tears or perhaps the fiery blaze of rage. I was utterly indifferent to the question that lingered in the air, a heavy silence cloaking my thoughts. "How dare you cast us aside in such a ruthless manner?" she screamed with a voice that pierced the silence, echoing through the air like a thunderclap. "We are your family." With a steady hand, I extinguished the flame, the air thick with tension, and let the spoon fall from my grasp. Family. Oh, how they should cherish one another. Yet here I stand, my voice barely a whisper, confronting the betrayal of your actions. How could you treat me so? The weight of your disregard hangs heavy in the air. You craved my absence, didn't you? Now, the moment has arrived for you to gather your belongings. Jason trailed behind her, a shadow in the storm, desperately attempting to mediate the chaos that unfolded before him. "Mum, please, there must be a way out of this madness. This is not the essence of who you are." I spun around to face him, my heart racing, the air thick with tension. "Absolutely not, Jason. This is precisely who I am." The version of me who shattered the silence. The woman, a fierce architect of her own destiny, painstakingly reconstructed this house, brick by agonizing brick, only to witness the heart-wrenching betrayal of her own son as he surrendered it, room by precious room, to the shadows of loss. Emily's hand crashed against the table, the sound echoing like thunder in the tense silence. Age and bitterness do not grant you dominion over every aspect of life. I inhaled deeply, pivoting with deliberate slowness to face her. "No," I said, my voice trembling with the weight of the moment, a storm brewing in the depths of my soul. "This house bends to my will, for I have fought tooth and nail to claim what is rightfully mine. While you were fumbling with laces, I was toiling away, pouring my soul into keeping this place from crumbling into dust." Her eyes blazed with an intensity that suggested she was on the brink of an explosive confrontation, poised to leap at me with unrestrained fury. But then, with trembling hands, I extracted a mysterious object from the depths of my pocket. A tiny flash drive, pulsating with untold secrets. "What is that?" she commanded with an intensity that left no room for doubt. "Your voice," I declared with a tremor of urgency. Her eyes widened in disbelief, a single blink shattering the silence like glass breaking in the stillness of night. "What?" With a trembling hand, I set the drive down on the table, the weight of its secrets palpable in the air. "Every single word you uttered. Each vile, repugnant utterance, captured in time, marked with a date, and ready for the courtroom's unforgiving gaze. Should you dare to challenge this eviction, know that it will be thrust into the hands of the judge without hesitation." Jason's face was ashen, a ghostly hue that spoke of dread and despair. Emily's gaze pierced the drive, a tempest of dread swirling within her, as if it were a ticking time bomb ready to unleash chaos at any moment. "You recorded me," she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief, the weight of betrayal hanging heavy in the air. "You dared to threaten me," I exclaimed, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and fury. "You conspired to poison the hearts of my beloved grandchildren against me. You turned this into a personal vendetta. At long last, the chains of prohibition have shattered. It is now legal." That fateful night, the house lay shrouded in an eerie silence, as if holding its breath, waiting for the storm to break. The kind of silence that slithers into your very bones, wrapping around your soul, making even the walls tremble with an unbearable tension. Emily vanished from the dinner table, leaving an unsettling silence in her wake. Jason's fork hovered ominously above his plate, as if the very food dared not be consumed. "But what about the children?" They smiled, their laughter echoing like a haunting melody, as they beckoned me for more rice pudding, their eyes glinting with an insatiable hunger. They continued to call me Grandma, as if the world around us had not shattered into a million pieces. That ignited a fierce fire within me, propelling me forward against all odds. 2 days later, with trembling hands and a heart full of turmoil, Emily packed the first box, each item a haunting reminder of what was once her life. It was anything but dramatic. It was a whisper, a mere breath against the silence. Yet it echoed with an unsettling intensity that sent shivers down the spine. But I witnessed her, standing there, a haunting figure in the shadows, her presence electrifying the very air around us. She believed I was incapable of it. She loomed in the upstairs hallway, folding her designer dresses with a frantic urgency, as if each piece held a secret too dangerous to reveal. As if every precious possession in that house was cascading away, eluding her grasp, leaving only echoes of what once was. And it was indeed a moment that would echo through the annals of time, a revelation that shattered the very fabric of reality. I stood in the shadows, breath held tight, as the scene unfolded before me, a tempest of emotions swirling in the air. She lifted her gaze, a storm brewing in her eyes. In that fleeting instant, our eyes locked in a silent battle of disbelief. "Where will you dare to tread?" I demanded. With a dismissive flick of her shoulders, she cast aside the weight of the moment. "It is likely the abode of my progenitors. Do they have any inkling of the words you whispered about me?" Silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. She didn't answer. I turned my back, but the storm was far from quelled. As dawn broke, I was met with a letter that would shatter my world, not from Emily, not from Jason, but from Child Services. A shadowy whisper of betrayal echoed through the air, as an anonymous tip had been filed, igniting a firestorm of intrigue and suspicion. In a startling revelation, an elderly woman stands at the center of a storm, her mind clouded by confusion, raising grave concerns about her ability to manage her own property alone. Whispers of neglect echo through the shadows, casting a dark pall over the once harmonious family ties, as accusations of failing the grandchildren loom ominously in the air. Whispers of early dementia loom ominously on the horizon. My hands shook violently as I clutched the paper, the weight of its contents threatening to unravel my very existence. This was a thunderous blow, a seismic jolt that shattered the very air around us. It was chaos, a battlefield drenched in the echoes of despair and fury. In a twisted turn of fate, she orchestrated a deceitful scheme, fabricating a report to seize the house, all while casting shadows on my sanity. Little did Emily realize, the wheels of fate had already begun to turn in my favor. 3 weeks ago, I found myself in the sterile confines of my doctor's office, where the air was thick with tension as I underwent a full cognitive evaluation. All tests have been conquered. The results, a tempest of fate, have been sealed, signed, and delivered to my lawyer, a harbinger of what's to come. In a moment of desperation, I reached for the phone and dialed Thomas's number, my heart racing with anticipation. "They filed a false report," I exclaimed, my voice trembling with disbelief. "I'll handle it," he declared, a fierce determination igniting in his eyes. "And in a whirlwind of fury, we shall unleash a lawsuit for defamation while we're at it." That fateful evening, I stepped into the living room, only to be met with the sight of Emily perched on the couch, her demeanor chillingly nonchalant, as if the storm that had just passed was nothing but a figment of imagination. Jason found himself ensconced in the upper realms of the house, surrounded by the laughter and chaos of the children. With trembling hands I raised the letter, its weight heavy with secrets and untold stories. "You truly believed I was that feeble?" I demanded. Her face became a mask of disbelief, a chilling stillness enveloping her features. "How dare you attempt to tarnish my reputation, seize my sanctuary, and inflict anguish upon my grandchildren, all the while donning the mask of a victim?" She parted her lips, a storm brewing within her, ready to unleash the tempest of her thoughts. With a trembling hand, I lifted it high, a silent plea echoing in the charged air. Silence reigns supreme. You've sealed your fate. Now, you must endure this reality. With a heavy heart, I pivoted on my heel and ascended the staircase, each step echoing the weight of my decision. That fateful night, I found myself ensnared in the clutches of despair, my gaze fixed upon the ceiling as if it held the answers to my torment. This had transcended the mere notion of a house. It was a battle for dignity, a fierce stand against the betrayal of one's own flesh and blood. But my story was far from over. Not yet, for the final blow had yet to strike, and when it finally happened, Emily stood on the precipice of despair, acutely aware of the crushing weight of losing everything she had never truly claimed as her own. As dawn broke the following morning, it emerged with an unsettling familiarity, casting its light over a world oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. But everything had shifted dramatically. A chilling sensation coursed through my very bones, an ominous whisper of dread that could not be ignored. Not the weary burden of time, but the oppressive weight that hangs in the air, thick with anticipation, just before the tempest breaks free. For months, I drifted through my own home, a mere spectre haunting the halls of my past. Before my very eyes, I witnessed the heartbreaking transformation of my son into a complete stranger. And I had suffered through Emily's poison for far too long. Today, the final act would unfold. At the stroke of 10 a.m., Thomas, my lawyer, burst through the door, flanked by 2 imposing officers from the sheriff's office, their presence heavy with unspoken tension. Men of unwavering resolve, their legal authority cloaked around them like impenetrable armor, ready to confront the storm of chaos that threatened to engulf all in its path. Emily burst into the hallway, a whirlwind of panic, her face drained of color, her eyes wide as saucers, as if she had glimpsed a ghost through the window. "What in the world is this?" she snapped, her voice trembling with a surge of panic. I stood beside the front door, arms crossed, my heart pounding as I watched her frantically plot her escape, desperation etched across her face. "This," I uttered with a chilling calm, "is your last warning." Jason careened down the stairs, each step a perilous descent into chaos. "Mum, no. Please don't go. We can still find a way, I promise. Just give me a moment to think." But alas, the hour had struck, and the moment had slipped through their fingers like sand, leaving only echoes of what could have been. With a trembling hand, Thomas thrust the eviction documents into Emily's grasp, the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air. "You've defiantly clung to this place, refusing to leave. In a stunning turn of events, the court has granted the power of enforcement. Tick-tock. The clock is mercilessly counting down the final hours of your stay. You have just 24 hours to escape this impending doom, or the sheriff will storm back with movers in tow, ready to unceremoniously dump your life's possessions onto the unforgiving lawn. The stakes have never been higher. Emily gripped the paper as if it were a searing ember, threatening to ignite her very soul. "You can't do this," she gasped, her voice trembling with disbelief. "Our lives are intertwined with the laughter and chaos of children. And you wield them like weapons." I shot back, my voice trembling with the weight of the accusation. But that time has come to an end. Under the cloak of darkness, they hastily gathered their belongings, each item a whisper of the life they were leaving behind. I sat on the porch, the sun setting in a blaze of crimson, clutching the chipped mug that once belonged to George, each sip of tea a haunting reminder of his absence. Jason's gaze was averted, a storm brewing within him, as he loaded their belongings with a heavy heart. Emily clung to her bitterness like a lifeline, her words a venomous whisper that slithered through the air, as she denied the children their final farewell, leaving a haunting silence in her wake. But the eldest, my grandson Nathan, made a daring escape from the confines of the car just as they began to pull away. He dashed back, enveloping me in a fierce embrace, his voice trembling as he whispered, "I know you're not the villain, Grandma." I clung to him, defying the very laws of time, as if the world around us had ceased to exist, and in that moment, nothing else mattered. My grip tightened, a desperate plea against the inevitable, a silent scream echoing in the depths of my soul. How could I let go? How could I face the void that awaited us both? "I shall forever remain by your side," I declared. "This will forever be your sanctuary, but never theirs." With a swift nod, he dashed back to the car, urgency pulsing through his veins. I stood there in the driveway, watching them drive away, not consumed by anger, but enveloped in an unsettling peace that hung heavy in the air. Weeks dragged on, each one heavier than the last, a relentless march through the shadows of time. And then, an eerie silence descended upon the scene, wrapping everything in a shroud of tension. Not the kind that grips the heart with terror, but the serene kind that envelops the soul in tranquility. In a whirlwind of transformation, I unleashed my creativity upon the living room, splashing vibrant colours across the walls. The front garden, once a mere shadow of its former self, now flourished with new life as I replanted each delicate bloom. New curtains cascaded down, framing the windows like a dramatic reveal. Music, once silenced, surged back into my life, filling the air with its enchanting melodies. And there I stood, in the kitchen, crafting meals solely for myself, a ritual I had forsaken for years, reclaiming my joy with every stir and simmer. I smiled, a wicked grin spreading across my face, unburdened by remorse. One fateful month later, a letter arrived, its presence heavy with portent, from the depths of Jason's soul. Absolutely not an apology. Absolutely no justification. Merely a crumpled photograph. A silent witness to untold stories. In a modest yet pristine apartment, he stood amidst the children, their laughter echoing in the air, a stark contrast to the shadows of their past. The walls whispered secrets of new beginnings, each corner a testament to hope and resilience. On the back, he had scrawled, "I see it now." A revelation that pierced the silence like a thunderclap. "Forgive me for the agonizing delay that has stretched into an eternity." I stood there, unyielding, as the storm of emotions raged within me. Not a single tear fell. With trembling hands, I slid the photo into the family album, just one row beneath George's cherished snapshot of our house, the very moment we stood triumphant, the echoes of our labour still fresh in the air, the day we completed our dream. Now I sit on this porch every evening watching the sun dip below the same oak tree where George proposed. And I remember, this house is not just wood and walls. It's memory. It's grief. It's power. It's mine. They tried to bury me in silence. But I remembered who I was, and when I finally spoke, they had no choice but to listen.